To make the effect of war a little more interesting, or what was happening, this photographer added smoke. In fact, if you look, you can kind of see it was pretty much a sloppy job. You can see the repeat. Correct. So
he got fired.
He used this to sell the image, and it worked. And they ran it. Correct.
Yeah, he got caught.
The soldier was not part of that original image. Two separate images put together to tell a story. So digital manipulation is not just changing the image, it's actually composing two separate images. You can take what's there and play with it. Is it proper to do that kind of work, as you're asking?
Well, if you're doing editorial pictures, I don't do that. If you're doing editorial work, is it proper to set a scene, even though if you're taking, let's say, a riot out in the street? Is it proper to move people around to get the best picture? Or is that
depends. I think he's talking about, is it proper to set up a scene, manipulate, move people around to do what you need to do? There is no real answer to that. It all depends what you're taking the photo for, who's hiring you. I mean, what is your intent? Are you trying to do it in a deceiving manner?
Yeah, he used the word editorial. So that
that photo of the clouds was an editorial photo, and it was corrected. It was wrong to do that because he was portraying something that was not real for a real story.
I've heard that press photographers get fired.
Press photographers probably could get fired. I don't know if that's true nowadays.
Whether you agree or disagree, you should know the repercussions. That guy who took the photo, he was fired. He used LA Times, he got fired. And so, whether you agree or shouldn't agree, the editor is going to say, I don't care what you think, you're fired if you do it under certain editorial circumstances. I mean, you really just need to know the rules of the game you're playing. But to pretend that there weren't any rules and it might have been up to the editor's discretion whether or not to take action against that person, once it was found out, there wasn't even a discussion. I was fired.
But he did achieve what he wanted. He got his photo ran. Granted,
you don't know that's what he wanted.
He was quoted as saying, I was stupid, I lost the best job I ever had.
True, but I'm curious on his intent on that.
Some of us older folks know Eugene Smith, and Gene Smith was one of my heroes. But was interesting, I spent a couple of workshops out at Carmel, I forgot what it's called, Friends Photography, and they talked about how Gene Smith also ferrocyanided eyeballs out in order to redirect the eyes in certain situations in Spanish village, and also he did some stuff with Albert Schweitzer. I think he added some sort of religious-like crosses behind him, and so he had a wonderful relationship with Life magazine. He was fired, rehired, fired, and again. But it starts way back, and I think that the point of where it starts, it has something to do with what Larry was saying is what you preconceive as you go along, almost. And that's where I think the creative process really is involved in taking photography beyond what is just a natural record.
Just examples. Really, what is manipulation? That's a question we should probably ask. Are you adding something that's not there? Are you taking things away? Are you altering what is there? I mean, is something manipulated if it's altered as far as brightness, contrast? Is that considered manipulation?
Someone on mushrooms may have seen that.
Be sure what a negative doesn't negative got a lot more going on. You overshoot, you overexpose, you have to kind of manipulate to bring it back to kind of what your thought was. Like Anzo Adam saw what he saw, but he burned and died like a mother just to get it where he wanted. To me, that was manipulation. That was bringing it to where he saw it and bringing it up to where he saw it. Yeah, it was good. Okay, now if someone puts a photograph out there and they bring the sun over here, or they shake the pyramids and they call it, this is the way they shot it, and this is exactly the way the negative is, well then, tell them it's manipulation. Tell them it's, then it's a lot, yeah. It's a lot, and then I think it's all where you see what you want to tell.
It would be levels, curves, contrast. That's burning Adachi, correct. But is that still manipulation? You can still have an image and be pulling things out of the background that aren't there, or that you wouldn't normally see. So you're actually correct. It is there. So that is not manipulation. So in other words, what you're saying is, if you have an image, whatever information you have in there that you can see or not see or pull out is not considered manipulation. That's part of the process.
That's like
all part of the problem.
Mind, or your eyes see a whole lot more, a whole lot deeper range than any camera to date can do, especially digital that's compressed capture. So the manipulation, again, how you put it, because you're bringing out what the concept is. That's what I said earlier. It's a concept initially. What you're seeing here, not only with your eyes, but also up in your head. So, yeah, where does that manipulation become overboard? I think the honesty in your intended audience, what you got to think about.
I think there's a difference between enhancing, which is what Ansel Adams did, or anybody else can do on the original image, whether it be a negative or a digital negative, if you will. As soon as you get to the point of creating and adding, then you're into if you will, phony manipulation, artificial manipulation. But taking what the camera took as your image and working that image is just nothing more than enhancing. I think enhancing versus creating is my distinction.
Maybe the word adjustment.
So on something like a photo montage, the very definition of montage is basically different parts. So if you're taking different parts, different images, putting together into one, that would be considered manipulation.
Okay, the idea of montage. Any of you who do architectural work and know of Photoshop and layers and bracketing and then merging your shots together so that you can capture 8 stops of range with incandescent, with daylight, with fluorescent. Well, you made a montage, but are you lying about the image of that interior you just caught? I don't think so, because you saw this room, but the way your film or chip reads that scene is not going to capture it the way you're seeing it in your head. And so in my mind, you almost have to do that kind of manipulation in order to get a shot that looks like that room you're trying to portray. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. That's a montage. That's 6 images that weren't necessarily all in one, even though it's of the same scene, that you're just bracketing in order to get what you need. I'm a moral relativist, so none of this matters to me. Do whatever you need to.
Whose image is this? Who sent this in?
This is mine.
Okay, just tell me a little something about it.
I sent this image because it's an unmanipulated image, but it's very abstract looking, and it was taken from a telephoto from a cliff looking down over the sea, and it's just the way the waves distorted the fish underneath that give it the effect that you have, but it's not manipulated at all.
Has anybody ever asked you if it is?
I haven't been around that long.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to, is there a spectrum for photography, for photojournalism is on one end of the spectrum, and it gradually moves to another end? The manipulation is almost like photo painting, or maybe you should have a different description for it.
Sort of a
I would imagine it's more of an island and a sea around it, whereas maybe editorial photographers would be in a position where you shoot as it is and that is it. Everybody else, every other market is probably farther and farther out there as far as toward manipulation.